Today, we witnessed some magnificent scenes of the brave Lebanese people returning to the south. Today marked the end of the 60th day, which was the deadline for Israel to withdraw. Israel said, we will not be withdrawing. Multiple attempts have been made by Israel to try and, have an additional extension. Clearly, that was not successful. That was not successful because the people were returning. The people were returning to the north, to the south, of Lebanon. And there were many videos and scenes published. This was one of them here. People going back, even raising Hezbollah flags as well. That's an Israeli vehicle ahead. But it came as a cost. It came as a cost. There were reports that 24 were martyred and over 120 were wounded, trying to go back to their homes, but prevented by this state of terror. And there were other images as well of, not only the people, but also the Lebanese army. And I'm going to talk about the villages, which parts, and what happened. The things were very interesting in Lebanon today. Here, this was a very interesting image that came from Lebanon, but the Lebanese army actually providing cover for the civilians returning to Mais el-Jabal. This was one of the villages that Israel still had presence in, South Lebanon. The Lebanese army was seen protecting the people, giving them cover to go back. And also there were videos and images of Lebanese army tanks going back to some of those villages where Israel is present in, despite Israel claiming that they are not going to leave. There were also scenes of unity as well. So the southern part of Lebanon is a majority Shia population. However, both Shia and Sunni people were praying together when they were returning back to the south of Lebanon. Excuse me if I said north, I meant South Lebanon. They were praying together, scenes of national unity, support, common cause of those people to go back to the south of Lebanon. Some also, people who were returning back to the north, were challenging Israel. Like one of them was this kid here, this young man, who saw an Israeli tank and he decided to go next to the Israeli tank. He was recording the Israeli tank. Look at this Israeli terror tank next to him. Look, he's pointing at him. And he's just recording him and basically giving him the finger. Although they deserve more than that. And one of the most significant scenes that came from South Lebanon today is this woman.
الله أكبر يا الله أكبر عليه أعطيه تحية من عندك عليه تحية شهيد.
And there was someone who said that, and they also said that someone was also killed by Israel. He was martyred. But again, this image really speaks volumes. Woman standing against a tank. This is the ultimate representation of what the people in the Levant of Ard al-Sham face with this barbaric state of terror. People versus tanks. This is the ultimate representation. And this woman, with all heroism and bravery, going to confront a tank, like all of the Lebanese people who were seen going back to the south despite this state of terror, committing a genocide in Lebanon, trying to prevent them from that. That also brought results. There were results coming from these actions. What are these results? Well, at one point today, I'm going to share this map with you. You see this map? This is the map of some of the villages that Israel occupies in South Lebanon. The ones in blue, the ones in blue and red, altogether, they had Israeli presence up until yesterday. The ones in blue had people returning to them, with many of them seeing Israeli withdrawal. That was in the middle of the day. What happened later on during the day? Look at what happened later on during the day. We started to have this. Look at how many people returned to, the majority of them, including these areas here. Aytarun, Maysel Jabal Hola, Ayt al-Shab, Bint Jbel, all of these areas. That means the people went back despite Israeli presence, and Israeli terror forces started to withdraw from these areas too. So in effect, today we saw a magnificent scene in South Lebanon of people defeating the army. The people of Lebanon, women, children, defeating the army. And again, they paid a price. It wasn't without a price. 22 martyrs, including 9 children, 124 wounded, with the masses of people going back. And they were like, no one's going to stop us. No one is going to stop us. And they continue to go down south. Now, these images from Lebanon are very significant. They're significant because Hezbollah, the Lebanese armed resistance, led primarily by Hezbollah, they were the ones who started to support Gaza, right? And Lebanon was the biggest country that sacrificed with its people outside of Palestine during this genocide. People need to remember that very well. Thousands of martyrs, the pager attacks, and approximately 1 million displaced, forcibly expelled from their homes, and Israel destroying big parts of Lebanon. But Hezbollah did not participate in anything. They weren't shooting at it. It was the people. It was the people, and it was the Lebanese army with the presence of the Lebanese army. Now, this is significant because there were talks throughout this period that we want, Hezbollah shouldn't really be the only side in Lebanon confronting. We need to create a new equation. We need to potentially have a new resistance of everyone in the south. And of course, there is a big coordination between the Lebanese resistance and the Lebanese army. But the Lebanese army wasn't taking a proactive role in confronting Israel. Today, it showed more participation of the Lebanese army, although there weren't many clashes, but the Lebanese army also lost troops. There were slight exchanges during the past 15 months. Of course, nothing in comparison to what Hezbollah did with Israel. But this is creating a new reality in the south, where the community, the civilians of the south, who are communities supportive of the resistance, many of them family members, they are going back with the protection of the Lebanese army. These scenes today, they bothered many people. They bothered Israel, first and foremost, with limited capabilities to escalate further against these people. Israel did not want to have images of mass murder again, although they're a mass murdering entity, because there's a lot at stake when it comes to the deal, when it comes to the US administration, and when it comes to the fact that they are the ones violating now blatantly, even in front of their biggest supporter, the United States administration. Then the people imposed their will on Israel by returning to their towns and villages. By the way, many of them destroyed. Much of the towns in the south of Lebanon were totally destroyed. Israel was destroying the houses deliberately in the south to make them uninhabitable, like what they've done in Gaza. And people mustn't forget the talks about Israeli settlement and expansion several months back. Don't forget all of that talk. And some religious groups inside of Israel calling the South Lebanon area a biblical area, important to the Jewish people all of a sudden, and that they want to be there. Don't forget, all of that is being shattered. All of that is being shattered by the brave Lebanese people. Judging by what happened today in South Lebanon, it looks like Israel will continue the withdrawal. They have no other option but to, unless they decide to make a move that would take things completely out of control and put them at loggerheads with not only Hezbollah, but potentially the Lebanese army too. And they're going to have more problems with the mediators who are trying to get to a solution. Because although the mediators, they would have loved to see Hezbollah being completely wiped off, they know Hezbollah cannot be defeated like that. Similar to the Palestinian resistance. Everyone would have loved Hamas to be wiped off, even the Palestinian people. And they wouldn't even blink, because we're talking about people who are morally depraved. The leaders supporting the country, supporting Israel, their administrations really, those in power, they're morally bankrupt, depraved completely. They don't care about the lives of the Palestinian people. And of course, compare all of their positions when it comes to Gaza and Lebanon, and compare them with what they do in Ukraine, to look at the heaps of double standards and hypocrisy. But what happened in Lebanon today, and the scenes that we're seeing from Gaza, people returning to the north of Gaza, people in Lebanon returning to the south, all of that indicates that the will of the people of the Levant is victorious.